Hi, I'm Brian. Welcome to lesson 1 of the shoulder course. I am so excited you're here because this is such a wonderful opportunity for you to reestablish a strong relationship with your shoulders, to reconnect with them and understand them in a different way, from a different perspective, in a way that will hopefully help you be healthier and more functional and strong for the long term, which I'm hoping will make you happier too, because as you can see, that's kind of what I'm all about, all right? Now, in order to make this as powerful as possible, I want you to try your best to let go of some of your past experiences with your shoulders, some of your past expectations and limitations, whether they were placed on you by yourself or by other people. This is a new experience. Let go as much as you can to make it totally new. Release yourself from judgment so that when we're doing some of the movements, you're just observing as much as possible. All right? Cool. So before we get into any movements, I'm going to go over some basic anatomy. Nothing crazy, but just enough to give you a little more power behind some of the exercises and movements that I'm going to have you do moving forward. All right, so the first thing I'm going to go over is the main shoulder joint, the glenohumeral joint. And that's where the humerus meets with the scapula. And the scapula has this glenoid cavity that comes off of it. And that's like a small, shallow bowl facing sideways. And that humerus, that big bone, meets and joins with that bowl. Now imagine the humerus is bigger and this bowl is a lot smaller. And there's all this stuff that helps connect them and create space between them for them to move. Now since this is really small and there's some space between them, that means there's an enormous potential for this joint range of motion, which is really cool. It means we have so much potential for that joint to move in every direction practically. However, that also means that there's a lot of potential for instability and pain and injury, because our daily life typically doesn't involve us reaching into those outermost ranges of motion. And if we don't consistently explore those ranges, they start to become weaker, they become more unstable, and over time we even lose access to them. And now in addition to losing some of that range of motion, the communication between joint and the brain changes. And that is the most important part, because typically the joint is going to send information to the brain that's going to help determine how all these surrounding tissues function. So imagine this is your joint, your shoulder joint, and it's lost range of motion. It's not as healthy, it doesn't have as much space. It's like the flashlight is turned off. It's not providing good information. As you start exploring those larger ranges of motion, and over time that range improves, the health of the joint improves, it's like you're turning on the flashlight. Oh my gosh, it's burnt out. Oh, there it goes. It's like you're turning on the flashlight. And the more you do it, the more consistently you do it, it's like the flashlight is getting brighter, providing more and more information and more accurate information. And not only are you improving your range of motion, but you're improving the function of all the surrounding tissues of your joint. So that's why this movement that I'm going to be showing you is so damn important, because it changes your biology. It changes the communication between your joint and your brain. You're going to be amazed at some of the changes if you've not tried some of this stuff before. So let's move on now to shoulder blade specific movement. That's right, the shoulder blade or scapula does move, and it's actually super important for our overall shoulder health and function that it moves and moves well. Because we talked about that glenohumeral joint, right? The arm meets up with the scapula, and it has a lot of potential for a large ranges of motion. Now imagine that scapula moves, right? That allows for even more potential range of motion. Pretty sweet. So the scapula, they're these triangular-like blades that move along the rib cage, and they're going to be the foundation for our overall shoulder health and mobility. So it's going to be really important that we gain full control and mobility of the scapula in order to optimize our shoulder function. So we're going to go into some of the movement of the scapula, but first, I'd love it if you would film yourself and consider taking off your shirt to do so. So that way you can really see what's going on, as well as feel all the sensations as we're doing these movements. All right, so go ahead. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna start off relaxing the arms. Don't move into any painful ranges of motion. Keep it easy, keep it light, and just explore, all right? We're gonna go up into elevation of the shoulders and the scapula. So we're gonna shrug your shoulders up towards the ears and then pull them down towards your hips. That's depression. Shrug up towards your ears, that's elevation. Pull down towards your hips, that's depression. Scapular depression, anatomical only, all right? I don't want you getting sad just because we're moving our shoulders around, all right? Boop, boop. Remember those. All right, so continue. Elevation, scapular depression. Elevation, depression. Remember, no pain here. We're going nice and easy. I want you to just feel what's going on. Feel what kind of tension you feel. Are you gliding nicely, or is it creaking and cracking? Where do you feel the most resistance? What range is easier, elevation or depression? Cool, now I'm going to show you the different angle. So here you can see the scapula coming up and down along the rib cage and along the spine. All right, get a feel for that. I really want you to feel what's going on there. Don't worry about what mine looks like. Don't even worry about what you look like. You can check the film later. I just want you to feel what's going on. Gain a better connection with your shoulders. All right, cool. Now we're going to go into protraction and retraction. So protraction, rolling those shoulders forward. Retraction is pinching them back. Roll forward, pinch back. Still keeping it nice and easy. I don't want you going into any painful range here. And I'm going to show you the other angle. Feel what's going on, feel where you've got resistance, and feel what feels easy. So protraction, you're pulling the scapula away from each other and away from the spine. Retraction, you're pinching them back towards the spine and towards each other. Protraction, retraction. Protraction, retraction. Perfect. Now we're going to put them all together into the scapular CARs, controlled articular rotations. Most exciting part of the day, for sure. All right, so follow my lead. Again, no pain, please. Keep this as easy as you can. Easy and loose. All right, shake out your arms a little bit if you have to. Make sure you're breathing. We're going to shrug up into elevation, roll forward into protraction, pull down into our happy depression, retract back, elevate, protract, roll forward, pull down, depress, retract towards the spine. I'll show you this angle. Elevate, protract, depress, retract. Now we're going to go from this position and we're going to go the opposite direction. So we're going to roll forward, elevate, retract, depress, pull down towards your hips. Roll forward, elevate, retract, depress down towards your hips. One more time. Roll forward, elevate, retract, pull down towards your hips. So those are your scapular CARs. The beauty of that is that it goes such a long way towards overall shoulder health. And you can do it just about anywhere. It doesn't take a lot of space. It doesn't take a huge amount of energy, and you can do pieces of it at a time. You don't have to do the entire shoulder CAR to get a benefit from it, all right? Now that we got that foundational mobility and connection going, we're gonna get into the glenohumeral joint specific movement. So we talked a lot about the glenohumeral joint already, but not about the specific motions that go on within the joint. And that's what we're gonna do now. And we're gonna start with rotation, because rotation helps to improve most profoundly the communication between the joint and the brain. And it's going to help all that stuff surrounding the shoulder and the arm function better. In addition, that rotation is going to help carve out more space within the joint, and more space means more potential for movement in every other direction. So rotation improves all the other movements, and it also improves the communication. Super important, which is why we're starting there. So I want your arms at your sides, and you're going to follow along with me here. No pain though, okay? Nice and easy, no pain. All right? Now, ideally you've got some smileys on your biceps, or smiceps, because they're going to enhance your experience here. And what you want to do is rotate your arms so that those smileys turn in towards you. That's internal rotation. Now rotate your arms so that they turn away from you. That's external rotation. Rotate in, rotate out. As you're doing this, if you don't have smileys, I'm sorry for you, but watch your biceps. Make sure your biceps are turning. If they're not turning, and you're just getting this from your wrists and elbows, you're not getting that humeral rotation in the joint, which is our goal right now. All right? Just feel what's going on. Where do you feel tension? Which way is easier? All right? Is it really difficult? Do you really not feel anything going on here? That's okay. All right? There's no right or wrong right now. It's just a matter of strengthening the connection. All right? Learn to feel what's going on at your shoulders. Make sure you're breathing too. Sometimes when people are concentrating on new movements, they stop breathing, and that is just no good at all. So we got our internal and external rotation down, hopefully. You can also do this in all other planes of motion, and I'd encourage you to really explore. We're not going to do all that right now, but as an example, you can do it out to your side, you can do it out in front, you can do it really any range of motion, any position, you can try those rotations. All right, now we're going to work on adduction and abduction of the shoulder. So, adduction is bringing the shoulders towards your body, together. Adduction, it can cross the midline, so this is adduction, just like that. Abduction is bringing your arms away from your body, abduct. This is abduction, this is adduction. All right, do a couple of those, just see how they feel. This also can be done in different planes of motion. All right, abduction, adduction. You're not going through any crazy painful ranges. Don't push too hard, please. Now we got horizontal abduction, away, adduction, towards. Abduction, adduction. And I just want to illustrate here, before we go into anything else, how the scapula actually helps facilitate the movement here. So watch this. Try to go into adduction as far as you can without moving the scapula. Without moving at all, I run into a block here. I can't go any further. All right, see how it feels for you. Do a couple of these, and then I want you to let the scapula move freely. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to let it come up and down. Do you feel that release? Do you feel suddenly you have more space? You have more potential for movement. Okay, and that's just one way in which the scapula can help facilitate movement at the shoulder. Super cool. So we got the adduction and abduction down. Now flexion and extension. So flexion is bringing that arm up like this as high as you can, and extension is bringing it back, trying to make it parallel with the floor. Flexion, extension. Do this one along with me as well. Now here, you do want to see how far you can get before that scapula starts moving, but as you bring your arm up, moving that scapula is going to help you move a little further. All right? As you go into extension, just see what happens. See if you want to roll forward. Try to stay tall, but just notice if you don't. All right? Again, no right or wrong right now. We're just observing. Try that other arm. We're doing the same thing here. All right? And symmetry is not a goal right now. Just notice, if you're symmetrical, that's cool. If you're not, that's also cool. All right? This is all about you. This is all about you. See how these ranges feel. See what your tendency is. All right? We're just exploring. And recognize again how that scapular movement is going to help facilitate other movements of the shoulder. All right, now we got all those movements down. It is time for one of my all-time favorites, Glenohumeral CARs, controlled articular rotations. Let's get into it. So, to start, you're going to follow my lead and make these absolutely as easy as possible. Okay? Left arm, palms facing in. We're going to go up into flexion as high as you can go. Easy. Internally rotate, so you're rotating the smiley down. Reach back behind you as far as you can. Right? Keep trying to rotate. And then we're going to go back the other way. So extension, rotate, reach up and around. All right, with each rep, see if you can get just a little bit further in every range, but keep it really easy. All right, imagine you're doing this right before bed. Right before bed. You don't want to wake yourself up too much. You don't want to get too fired up. You don't want to get your heart rate up. Flexion, internally rotate, reach back into extension. Just observe what's going on here. Back into extension again, externally rotate, reach up and around. Cool. All right, let's go other arm. Let's go right arm. So you're reaching up into flexion, internal rotation, reach back into extension, continue to internally rotate, and then we're going back again into extension, external rotation, up into flexion. All right, remember you're breathing, you're keeping it nice and easy. Breathing, nice and easy. All right, this is right before bed. We're not trying to get too fired up or excited. I'm only interested in what's going on at a nice, easy level here. All right, what are you feeling? Is this different than the other shoulder? Keep it nice and easy. We're going back one more time. Extension, external rotation, up into flexion, and back down. So those are the glenohumeral CARs. Now, what I really would like you to do from here on out is do some form of scapular CARs, some form of glenohumeral CARs every single day. It doesn't have to be sit down and do 5 minutes of it. All right, it can be accumulated throughout the course of the day. You can do anything and get a few of them in. Anytime I have some downtime, cooking, waiting in line, pumping gas, that's a great time for CARs. All right, if you can't do the full glenohumeral CAR, do some of these. These are the axial CARs. Do some of those rotations. All right, if you're sitting in traffic, as long as it doesn't impede your ability to drive, do some scapular CARs. All right, this is all about gaining better connection with your shoulders and getting as much healthy, pain-free movement as you possibly can. We're going to build upon it, but set this foundation with your shoulders now.